You're listening to The Disc Golf Show. Hello and welcome to The Disc Golf Show, episode number 21. Today is the 7th of October. It's the 8th of October because we recorded yesterday and now we have to do it again. But it is what it is. But this episode's going to be even better because let me introduce you to the folks that are on the show. My name is Justin. With me today is maybe sitting that way, this guy. And then maybe even next to him is this guy. Who are you?
Hey, I'm Roger.
Nice to meet you, like we haven't met before. But no, Roger's going to talk here in just a little bit after we get done with all the fun stuff at the beginning of the show. And we're going to talk about some stuff, some tournaments. It's going to be good. You'll like it. Just sit still. We'll explain it. First, the show is brought to you in part by Final Nine Sports with their two locations, one in Rocklin, one in Roseville. Stop in there or at least support your local pro shop because that's what it's all about. Don't buy online or you're dirty.
That's not quite like true.
Not quite true. And we've talked about it before. Your pro shop doesn't always have everything, so you have to shop online. But shop local, because you should, and that's the point. Let's break into the stuff for Roger, so just in case he has to leave or whatever, we can get into that. Roger, what you do? What are you doing? What are you doing in disc golf?
Just got done playing around at golf, so I'm a little tired, but no, I'm
ball golf?
Disc golf. Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to get back in the swing of things after being gone for a few days. So, no, I'm a local Rocklin guy here in Northern California. I've lived in Rocklin for 14 years, found the disc golf course shortly after I moved in here, and I love it. I love playing out there. I love the people. It's fun. I like to run tournaments. I play. I'm on Team Westside right here. So I like to promote disc golf as part of their ambassador program with them. I like to get discs in hands of people that, while I play with them, they'd say, well, I throw this, what is comparable? So, that's part of my ambassadorship. But I'm turning into, now that I'm getting up there in age at almost 48, I'm starting to run more tournaments. And that's why I'm here today, is to promote some of the upcoming events that we have here locally. And I thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One of those events was one I played in last weekend.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
And that was a fundraiser event for the A tier that's coming up in November. The cool down is the main A tier. There were two fundraiser events called warm ups. So cool down warm ups 1 and 2. And the second one is this last one that I played. And, Justin and I played in the first one, and we had some critiques about.
Absolutely.
We did.
Which we were very open to, and I'm sure it wasn't just because of us and our critiques, but it's good that you take those into consideration when moving forward, because to me, it's all about that, especially moving into an A tier. You want it to be dialed in as best as possible. But I would say drastically better. I think the flow was great.
Yeah.
The overall, I had a smoother experience.
It was tiring, right?
It was too. Justin and I talk about this, and this is actually one of those questions that's later on. Is 2 rounds in one day is one thing, right? Mm-hmm. 2 rounds in one day is one thing, because again, I'm going to be 46 here shortly, and so I know how you feel. And 2 rounds of 9,500 feet is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know about you. I use a cart, and that does wonders.
Oh yeah, cart's a saver.
Master's life, right? Master's life. So I, as I said in our first round yesterday when we tried to do this, I'm happy overall. One, mainly because I played way above my rating average, which actually the update happened, and we discussed this yesterday. I went from I'm gonna open this up, because I went from a 898, which I dropped to from cooldown warm up 1, and then this one I jumped 14 points.
Wow.
So I'm up to a 912 because I averaged, I think, a 937 during the event. So
I gave you 2 of my points. I dropped 2. So
did you? I appreciate that. You're so giving. I appreciate that. But yeah, I think you did a lot of great changes, and I don't know about the. Let us know what the MPO division or the Pro divisions thought about it. With your feedback,
I've had a few feedbacks come through, both in person and a couple that have come through. For those that don't know, at every tournament that you have, there's an optional feedback on the tournament page where you can go in and you can submit, what you liked about it, how you thought about it. And I take that very personally. I want to hear the goods, the bads, the negatives. I'm currently I've been playing disc golf since 2014, got my PDGA number. I'm at 200 events, and I've played in I don't know how many cities and states, and I've seen the goods and I've seen the bads. So I take that very personally when I direct a tournament, when I create a layout. What do people like to see? What do people not like to see? What's going to be challenging? How do I take a course like Rocklin, which is, for those that don't know, it's not much elevation change. There's a lot of hard pan out there. It's brown because it's, summertime approaching fall. You do get skips. The regular course, if you were to set all 18 holes in the absolute longest, it's about, I want to say it's about 6,700 feet. And so the course that we played, like Nick said, 9,500, approaching 9,500 feet and a par 67. So that really adds a lot of challenge to it. I had a design team, a couple local guys, David Hurley, Andrew McGill, and Derek Moore. We walked the property 2 years ago and said, how do we create a longer layout? How do we make it more challenging instead of just playing the regular 18? We did some fundraising to get 18 baskets that are exactly the same baskets as the regular course baskets that we can use as temps. That way you're not playing on two types of baskets. You have a uniform Pro 28s on around the entire course. We walked the property at Rocklin, saw some really good lines, taking in the naturalness of the creek lines and the OBs and, how do we extend these holes? And we came up with a really challenging layout for this year. And what you played, Nick, is kind of a dumbed down version where we had some painted OBs. We had the double Mandos and things like that. When we approach the A tier, we are adding a lot more OB to make it a little bit tighter. I took some of that feedback from guys like Josh Anton, who said, I've got some ideas. How do we make this harder? And some other ones that came through where we're going to add fairways. So you're going to have an OB line left and an OB line right. For some of these par fours where guys are just leaking out shots and, you're pretty much wide open for an easy three for most people. And just going to make it more challenging. And hopefully those are taken in really well once we do get the OBs marked complete for the A tier. We also have some volunteers locally that said, it'd be great because we use some natural pads where it's on dirt and the footing's not always good. We go out a few days before the tournament and we try to rake them and try to get them as flat as possible, but it's not always going to work out. So we have a volunteer locally, a guy named Matt, that's going to actually build us tee pads for the ones that are going to be temporary. We're going to have some plywood and some turf, and you're not going to be throwing off of dirt. So there will be some changes that hopefully are good. Some of the pars will change as I looked at the stats from how MPO played it versus how MA1 played it versus how MP40 played it. When MPO is getting borderline eagles on these par fours, it's like, maybe it doesn't need to be a 4. It should be a 3. Then it's a rewarding birdie at that point instead of a gimme, right? But yeah, I hope you had a good time. We had 95 players show up, and I got a lot of praise and kudos, and everybody seemed to like it. So we'll see what happens come November.
Well, also one thing to take note is also when people think about staff that run these things, to me, when I got out there, because I got out there early that day
to
see what was going on. Yeah, but the thing was that's a skeleton staff.
Yeah.
That to put on great. It's a C tier, yes, and we know C tiers are small, and there's probably going to be less staff. But it was 5 people?
Yeah, we had
6,
three
maybe?
guys putting out baskets. I was checking people in. We had a shop that was open, the Final 9 there at Rocklin. They were open at 6 o'clock, so they had to staff it up. We had people putting out closed course banners, people putting in T signs, sponsor signs. Everybody showed up at 6 a.m. with check-in starting at 6:30, and those guys were ready to relax because they were also playing by 7:30. Their jobs were done in half hour, 45 minutes. And come A-tier time, it's going to be prepping from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then we're going to be playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So, and trying to get the course laid out because people are going to want to come play it. We're going to try to have them out Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday leading up to the tournament with full OBs and baskets in the ground for certain periods of time during the day from like 10 to 3. And then we're going to have to pull the baskets out and, for those that want to come in and play.
Yeah, that's so good to be able to have some time prior to the actual event to actually play the field.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you didn't get a chance to play the warm-up, you're going to come in blind, and coming in blind to that, it's not all that difficult. Yeah. It's not like some of the bigger courses around where, you see on tour, but it can be challenging because you want to know, where are my landing zones? How do I play this par 4 for a birdie? What do I not want to do? What do I want to do? How long is it going to take me to play an actual round? And I was surprised that we were 3 hours, 15 minutes for each round. Plus we had lunch and then we finished up. I was home before the sun went down.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I think Nick was saying there was only like really one backup that you guys had.
That was the whole day. That was literal for my group for
your group. Okay.
Yeah.
Probably one of the longer holes.
The bridge hole, but it was basically because that was the starting hole for the group ahead of us.
Okay. Right.
And I think the other thing with that hole is that there are walkers.
Exactly.
That still come through there. So you do have to wait sometimes on that hole. But outside of that hole, for our group, we weren't waiting and we weren't being pushed either.
Right.
Yeah. So the flow was
pretty good.
Yeah, the flow was great.
And one thing that we are taking into consideration with the upcoming A tier is shortening some of the pads for some of the divisions. We will, instead of having a 900-foot par 5, we'll move the tee box up a couple hundred feet and you'll be throwing, shorter par 4 or, things like that to kind of create a gap. That way the groups that are behind those that are teeing off early in the morning, they'll have that time to move and won't be stuck sitting on a tee pad for 1 or 2 groups, hopefully.
Yeah. And what's so surprising is, again, I don't play a ton of tournaments, but I do like to play some local events to support and stuff like that. And after playing that, it was interesting because there is that long par 5 out in the open, out in the backside of the course. And one of them, I had a birdie putt on it. The other one I would have had, but I had a bad roll away off a tree, which is, of course, it's my fault. It's nobody else's but mine. But there were a couple of those holes that were, hole 9, the combined 9 to
the dog park area?
Yeah. And I had a birdie putt on that I was past the basket.
Yep.
So I was pleasantly surprised with my gameplay, but it also goes to show that I felt comfortable. I felt comfortable during the event enough to not be felt like I was pressured, need to play fast or anything like that. Right. So again, the flow comes into play in more ways than one.
It does. And that whole particular, playing the way that it does, or the way that it did during the C tier, I'm interested to see how it's going to play out because, the people in my group, were throwing large anhysers around the oak tree, right? And
that's what I did.
There will be an OB line that separates hole 1 and 9.
Which is smart.
Which is going to be out on the left. So it's going to be interesting to see how people play it because the intended route is out over the creek to the right, and then you just play out to the middle, But
you'd have to put a Mando on those trees.
Yeah, and I was seeing sky rollers, and I was seeing huge forehand. I saw pretty much everything on that hole in my group, and it was just like, wow, all right, it's not the way that I intended this hole to be played, but okay.
Yeah, and the reason why I went out left, which normally when the pin's in the normal position for that hole, I go over the river and dump off hyzer towards the basket. But the tree was missing a limb, so it looked way open to where it wasn't as intimidating.
Yeah, we lost a big one down that hole.
Yeah. So it's more open to the left, which is more inviting, and it's obviously safer unless you do some really bad, cut over to the creek or roller that turns and flips quick. But I know I didn't see the majority. I think my whole both cards went left.
Interesting.
For AM40. Yeah.
You know what they should do is they should take the stumps that are left over and they should cement them into the ground.
Oh, don't just.
I've seen that at some courses, and that it just looks beautiful.
Justin's favorite thing about courses.
I'm trying to find some people that are willing to dress up in costumes and run flags across some of those holes.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, there you go. And then don't use the flags. Just use thumbs up. You really have the flags in your hands.
Yeah, just the thumbs up. Yeah, that's a whole other issue to me. I get the excitement of. Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. That's
right. I was looking at some of the registrants for this, and I've got 2 people coming in from Homer, Alaska.
Well, that's who won MPO, right?
There was that guy was from Alaska. Not in the MP40 division. There's 2 guys that just registered that are from Alaska, and I don't know if word's traveling around or if it's just they're in town. I've got Jennifer Allen coming this year.
Awesome.
Who's the other gal from Oregon? Chochek? She just registered.
I think I know who you're talking.
Yeah. I've seen some videos of her.
Corver's registered too, right?
Juliana's coming. Yeah. So we're getting some names out there. I'm trying to reach a couple other people just to see if, hey, it's off season. I called the cool down for a reason, not only for the weather, but like all the Pro Tour events are over. Everybody's kind of cooling down, entering the off season.
Mm-hmm.
If there's any pros out in the area, I'll take them all.
So here's one, I guess, last question, final question. Is this event, because I know it's been held at Rocklin,
yes,
pretty much for its lifetime.
It used to be called the Rocklin Cool Down.
Yeah, right. So is this something that you're looking at possibly moving in the future?
I am. I have, prior to settling on Rocklin for this year, we had looked at a few other pieces of property, including the Sunset Whitney Recreation Area, which is a former golf course, which is behind Johnson Springview, where Rocklin is now. We had permission to walk the property and possibly design a course, and we did. We designed 2 that could be used out there. When we approached the city of Rocklin and asked them about using that land, they're actually doing some construction, which is going to prevent it from being used in 2024. However, they expect it to be completed by mid-2025 and said that we could explore using that land as well. But I'm always open to, bigger and better properties. For those that don't know, Nick and I were part of a design team for a new course in Roseville. I would love to move it there and use Rocklin as well. Maybe even use 2 or 3 courses if it gets big enough to where people have to alternate between.
Yep. Yeah, variety.
That'd be cool.
Which Justin likes that.
I do. I like the variety
multiple
as well.
Multiple courses.
It gets kind of stale if you play the same layout 3 times,
Right.
Day 3, you're kind of coming in going, I didn't play so good the last 2 days. Now I've got to go out there and play again. It's like, okay, I'm entering someplace new and I got a chance to move. People could, mess up. People could falter. It changes. So moving venues, courses, I'm always a proponent of that.
All right. So moving forward here, are you able to stay with us, or did you need to bow out?
I probably need to bow out. I need to get some family stuff done here.
Okay.
Yeah.
No
I appreciate it, guys.
And I will say right before you go, I really like playing in your events because you pay attention to like little things that I think escape a lot of TDs.
Yeah.
And I like the approach that you use of the no nonsense. Like, here's what it is. I'm going to be very clear about it, right?
Yeah.
And there's really, by the time you're getting into playing, there's no questions that you have, right? If you have any questions, you weren't paying attention.
Right. One thing
That's basically it, right?
I try to pride myself on like rule details when it comes to like the this is hole 1. This is what is inbounds, is what's out of bounds, is what, things like that. And what I found is sometimes I get a little bit too fast. And for the C tier, we had one of the holes where we were playing from hole 14 to 15's basket. Typically the right side of the path is hazard, and it was not listed as hazard. And some people caught it. I mean, the rules are completely on there on the live scoring, and everybody had a rule sheet. I saw some people, and I'm like, hey, why is that guy out in the hazard area? And then I looked at the rules. I was like, oh, I omitted that. My fault. Things slip through. It happens.
Yeah.
But I kind of pride myself on, I try to catch everything. It's like you walk the hole and you look, you say, okay, well, the creek on hole 1 should not be out of bounds because it's so far left, but I got to put it in the rules because just in case somebody goes over, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So
it's
like you have to take everything into detail. And when it comes to the players meeting and stuff like that, I try to be, blunt without being too blunt. It's like, you got to keep score. You got to do this, speed of play, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And when a tournament runs smooth, it's because 1, people listen, and 2, people actually execute. And if that's how the tournaments go, that's how the tournaments go. There's always, you can't, you could have 100 people and you can satisfy 99 of them. One person's not necessarily going to like it, but that's okay. I take that feedback. And if it's negative, then I try to change it for what's coming up next. I can't fix it in the now, but I can fix it in the future.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
So here's one last note for you then on suggestions.
Yes.
All right.
Suggestions. Not really suggestions.
No, I love
it.
Here
it comes.
The original hole 7, right, that comes back in. The original 7.
7 playing to 8's basket?
Yes.
Yes.
Just to let you know, there's nothing on the notes when we played this last event where we had one of our guys cut roll really bad over to the left.
Yep.
And there was nothing on there saying that how there's the walk path, the road?
Yes.
Or the dirt pathway?
Yep.
For that hole, there was nothing stating any OB if you go too far left.
That's so far away. That is so far away.
He didn't go OB, but he was like 10, 15 feet from it.
That is so far. Whoa.
Yeah. So just to let you know, it was a really bad cut roll that took off left. Yeah. So we discussed that though.
Yeah.
We go, it is OB, but it's not on the hole.
Right.
It's on that hole. It doesn't state that it's OB.
Yeah,
so
that's like 200 feet.
That hole, I know. It was really, we all went, oh, is that going to go OB?
Yeah.
But luckily it didn't. He stayed in bounds. So maybe it's a non-issue, but just,
no, it's an issue now. You brought it up. It's an issue.
All right. Oh, now you brought attention to it.
I got to reevaluate my rule sheet now.
Right. And one other thing too, before we let you go, other little details, like, for example, having the water out on the course. Like we call it the cool down, but it is hot right now. So I'm waiting for the cool down. I'm trying to wish it into existence because I'm ready. But just having the water out there and taking care of your players is another thing that I actually, unfortunately, don't see a lot. No. So thank you for doing that.
You know what's weird is it's important. In the PDGA guidelines. You've got a certain, if it's X degrees, you got to have number of, water per hole. And, it was, we were like 85 degrees or something like that.
It got warm.
It was warm.
Yeah.
And in the morning on the way to the tournament, I'm like, I don't have any water. Let me just run by and pick some up. I grabbed 8 cases and just dropped them at random holes, so, and in the first round, it wasn't an issue because it was relatively cool. But when that second round hit, man,
I got some.
They were empty. We didn't have to pick up anything. We just had to pick up the trash that everybody left around. But, things like that. I've played in too many tournaments where it's 110 degrees and there's one water station. And it's like, that water station you only hit one time. And it's not good. So, players are supposed to hydrate themselves, but I don't believe in that because my personal opinion is I would rather give somebody my water out of my bag instead of carrying them off the course because they're, dying.
Oh, yeah.
So,
right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, I try to take care of the players in that aspect. So
it's definitely better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Exactly.
So.
Boom.
Yeah, exactly.
Boom. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Roger. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, and I always love playing your tournaments.
Thank you. I look forward to having you at the next one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Nick.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Justin.
Yep. See you.
All right. Bye.
Bye. All right, push on with the show. Thanks again to Roger for joining us. That was awesome. We have, I don't think we've had a guest on
since we
through
started
this iteration of the show yet, so he's the first one.
Yep.
All right, there you go.
Gold medal.
There you go.
Well,
you set the bar high.
That's his win for his poor play in skip ace. We'll get to that. So
you just had to rub in the skip ace, and you waited tactfully till he left, right?
Yeah. I only have one. That's the only person I beat. All right, gotta hold on to small victories.
Just rub it in.
He ruined me in disc golf. But,
let's get him back on here and see what he thinks about that.
Yeah. All right. So moving forward, we had, if you don't know, and Justin can add to this, but there was the Hurricane Helene.
Yes.
Ended up affecting IDGC, so International Disc Golf Center. They have a lot of work going on there to clean it up. They don't know when it's going to be open and playable again, but if you do want to follow along to see any news, check out their Facebook pages, along with Winthrop Arena, which seems to have been cleaned up enough because they actually played doubles recently, and the USDGC starts on Thursday. So it looks like they've done enough work. The people are out there posting their practice videos and stuff like that, which is good to see. You get to see those little tiny changes that are implemented at that event, which I'm curious to see if there's any major ones, but I have seen a couple little tweaks. But a lot of cleanup has gone on there, and we hope that that IDGC is able to get back up and going as soon as possible, but safely, for sure.
Right. Absolutely. Also, another kind of add on to that was the one hurricane that kind of came through. We're not done yet, apparently, because I guess coming up through the Gulf right now is another Hurricane Milton. It's projected to hit landfall Wednesday, Category 5. I hope it loses more energy. I haven't heard any updates as of this morning. I think it's still Category 5, so at least as what I was hearing on the news. But wishes and prayers go out to all you people there that are in the path. If you can evacuate, please do so. If there's anything that you'd like us to shout out in terms of any way that we can help, let us know, and we'll put that out there on our social media as well. But get out if you can and stay safe.
Please do. On a couple lighter notes here. I watched a recent video of, well, you know me, I follow along, not as much as I used to, but I follow along with Tour Life a little bit, and I
no, you don't say.
At least check their little quick update videos that they have little clips of. And one of the things was a discussion from Brodie along with Yuli about his situation moving forward.
Right.
A lot of people are thinking, oh, he's fallen off, and all he cares about is making some money and bouncing and all that stuff. And he even stated himself that as you grow older throughout your life, it doesn't matter if you're in your 20s to late 20s to 30s, whatever, but you get to a point where your priorities change. And
absolutely,
that's perfectly fine with whatever situation you're currently in. But he was stating that he's not going anywhere. He still wants to be involved in disc golf. He still wants to play. However, he is going to take a little less. It's not going to be his number one priority because he still has things he wants to do, which is totally understandable. He said that he's not going to be practicing as much out on the field or anything like that as like he used to. He's been with us for, I want to say, almost 5 years now. I think 2020 is when he started, which was unfortunate because of COVID, kind of halted stuff, so he couldn't really jump in too strong. But he pushed his way, and with having this little amount of time, I think he did pretty well. A lot of people give him a hard time for it, of like, oh, well, you never became top 10. How many people have actually been in top 10?
True.
In world rankings?
True.
Not a ton when you think about it. There are people that pop in and pop out, yes. But he's also had podium finishes at events.
Sure.
So, you're giving the guy a hard time because, listen, I can understand, and I've talked about this before, you're giving him a hard time because you don't like his personality.
Right.
And that's fine. You're not going to like everybody's personality. Some personalities clash. I get that. But
it's because he's kind of the outspoken voice, right? He will say things that others won't say.
Yep.
However, for the most part, at least the things that I have heard, he's constructive about it. It's not just most of the time, it's not just a gripe to gripe, right? I mean, everybody has to vent, right?
Yeah.
We all vent, right? If you're like, oh, I never vent, you're a very special and unique person, right? We all vent about whether it be work or whatever, right? And if you think about it, that was his work for a little while, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to vent about it. And not everything's going to be perfect, but I think the main points that he was bringing or has brought to attention are all valid, right? They're all things that could be improved on. And I think for the most part, he's not coming from a place of like, F this sport. He's kind of coming from a place of, I like this sport and I want to see it grow, and here's some ideas, right? And the way that he expresses that, it might be blunt, but I kind of like that, right? I'm a type of person that I think likes a little bit more bluntness in terms of feedback, at least, right?
Yeah.
And if you think about it, have you ever grown from somebody, have you ever improved from somebody or something just giving you positive feedback all the time? Oh, you're doing great. Oh, you're doing great. Oh, you're doing great.
Nope.
No, right? I think, at least for me, I only really make improvements when somebody gives me a constructive piece of criticism and kind of outlines that, hey, this area you're deficient in, and it could be a little bit better, or, that path of improvement is first set forth by the knowing that the problem is there and it being vocalized, then you can work on it, right? If you don't know, then if nobody talks about it and they're just like, everything's great, it's going to stay the same, right? It's not going to improve, really, or it might not improve as fast as if you didn't have that criticism, right? So I think that's important. I think a lot of times, and I find myself doing this too, is you like something so much, you don't want to hear the negativity. You just want to hear the positive, and you want to focus on that. And I get it. And there's a ton of negativity in the world today. We get enough of it from all these other sources. So my outlet, my hobby, and the thing I enjoy to do, I don't want to hear negativity. But I think sometimes it is important to have that conversation and bring up some of those points because it's healthy for it. And ultimately, it'll make that thing that you enjoy that much better. And that's kind of the way that I look at it. But
the other thing too
his
is
perspective.
You can't be mad at somebody for deciding to do something in their life. It's their life.
Yeah, exactly.
They are going to do what's best for them and those closest to them and those who they care about. So you have to respect the decisions of that person. Listen, if I'm in that same situation, or if most people, if they're in the situation to where they're going to be able to do what they either are excited to do or love to do, right? Because those can be two different things, but you're excited, especially when you're getting into something new and you like it right out the get, and you get this offer or opportunity to make money doing that. Who's going to say no? Right. So you're not.
I think that's one thing too that a lot of people bring up is he's in it for the money. It's a cash grab. Like, dude, if you're looking for a cash grab, disc golf is not the place right now for that. I don't get that argument at all.
Yeah.
I've heard that so many times. He's in it for the cash. What cash?
Yeah.
He could make cash at a lot of other places and a lot more of it, right?
And he doesn't need to either. Like,
no.
He's in a
that
situation
position,
where he can do what he wants and make those decisions that makes him happy versus needing the money.
Right. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we're seeing him step back a little bit, right? He's announcing he's stepping back a little bit, and that's fine. Because like you're saying, everybody's got to make their own decisions in their life, right? Are we going to see that going forward? Do I think he's going to step back more? Yeah, I think so. I think we're seeing that trend. We're seeing him step back more and more and more. And will he step completely out of disc golf? Maybe not. But I think we're going to see less and less and less and less, right? I think that's just the trend that we're seeing, unless something happens, right? And he decides to give it a go and jump all back in and, maybe. But from the trend that we're seeing, I think we're going to see less and less and less of Brodie anyway. So for those of you that don't like Brodie, well, there you go.
There you go, right? I think one thing that would be nice is if he stayed in the media part of it. Because as you said, he brings up great points. He's bringing up these points to be a benefit to the sport, not to ruin it. And you have to have somebody who's willing to make those give that constructive criticism to improve. So I hope if he does back out, which like you said, he most likely will, he has other ventures that he's following, his dark horse sports cards, stuff, and which is entertaining on its own. But if you don't like him because personality, kudos to you. That's understandable. But you can't dislike him for what he's done for disc golf and the people that he's brought into the sport. And so moving on. We had a recent drama situation, which I think is silly as all get out. But Kat Mertsch had a quick, it was in and out kind of a situation where she announced some coffee deal that she had, a blend that she called Kat Krack Koffee. Now, if you didn't catch that, Kat starts with K, so she made Krack start with K, and she replaced the C in coffee with K. So there was this upset of, KKK, what is she doing? How could she? Come on, guys. Let's
obviously
let's chill.
And hey, we don't know. We're not in her head. We don't know what she's thinking.
No,
right?
That's true.
Okay, I don't know her true alignment to things, but I can 99.9% guarantee that that's not where she was going with that. Any affiliation to the KKK. And you know what? Well, we'll say it right now. I don't think it needs to be said, but I'm going to say it anyways.
We should, right?
You're a KKK enjoyer. We are not. And if that makes you stop watching the show, great. I don't care. Goodbye, good riddance. And I think most people are kind of like that. You have your exceptions, which is why unfortunately the KKK still exists. But I think it's just a marketing blunder. Yes. Didn't even think about it. Kind of an honest, innocent mistake, right? I mean, you see things like this, like your school's local PTA, right? And they want to come up with a symbol for their fundraiser, and it's oddly phallic. It's because nobody really thought about it, right? Yeah. It was an innocent blunder, and they're like, oh no, like that's what it was. That's all it is. Put your tinfoil hats away.
Well, what
it
about,
was just a blunder.
Would it have been different had she called it the Kat Krack Koffee Club with a fourth K?
I think people probably wouldn't
people still get upset because it's got KKK in it.
It probably wouldn't have drawn as much attention because it's 4K. And honestly, I think 4K. The people that, I think the people that have a problem with there's KKK in there and they're trying to draw parallels probably wouldn't be smart enough to catch that there's three in the four. So there you go.
Unfortunately / fortunately, she issued an apology. I don't think she needed to. I think she could have said just, hey.
It could have been like a one-liner response on like her social media, like, hey, that wasn't our intention. Oops, my bad.
Yeah.
We'll change the name so that there's no kind of correlation to it.
I personally think it was a non-issue, but, I'm not everybody, so.
There's just an oversight, and does it, at the end of the day, is that what it stands for? No. You got to make it clear,
Exactly.
Because sometimes that is the case, so... I think making the clear line is probably important, but it's not as big of a deal as it was made out to be.
All right. So we've got a couple discs that were, obviously there's a ton of discs that get announced nonstop. Yeah. But we had a couple that we want to notate on here. One was from Katrina Allen. She announced that she had some prototype of her new disc that she has with DGA. Mm-hmm. And at the time, she had said that if you go to discgolf.com, there were still some available. However, I don't think there are anymore. It's been a few days.
I think they're gone because I looked just a little bit ago and they were out of stock in the place that I looked. So,
so I don't think I didn't look around too much, yet.
But
I don't think it's got a name yet. But
no, it's just as the prototype.
Disc. Yeah.
So
there's a new disc coming there. The other one is now Trash Panda only has a few molds as it is. They recently had been putting out videos about, if you know anything about the Aerobee Epic, it has an underside that has an offset cutout. So the edge of the rim is of different depths as you go around.
It's a different diameter kind of going around it. It changes its diameter.
Yeah. So they recently just announced that mold, because that mold that they didn't really have a name at the time. It was just kind of like an experimental project. And the mold they ended up announcing is ET1. At least I think it's ET1. And I had mentioned on there that it's the same principles as the Aerobee Epic. Yep. Now, I'm pretty positive that I remember him using an Aerobee Epic in one of his videos at one point, because he gets in a ton of used plastic, because that's what Trash Panda does. They recycle the plastic. So he knows that that's where that thought process came from. The Aerobee Epic isn't manufactured anymore. Right. And I think it's a little less drastic than the Epic was, but nothing was mentioned. And then a lot of people, because all I was saying is the same principles. I didn't say he stole the idea or anything like that, but a lot of people were like, how could he knows better, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, I don't know if I think you're looking into it a little too deep. But but if you like those kind of unique, quirky, gimmicky discs, then buy one.
Yeah.
Let us know how you like it.
We'll probably try to get our hands on one as well. Will it go in my bag? Probably not, but the more the merrier, I say, and the more experimentation that manufacturers can do, go for it, because that's ultimately going to lead to innovation.
Which reminds me, Scott Stokely purchased, do you remember Ching discs?
Yeah.
So Scott Stokely purchased the rights to those, and now he's selling those types of discs, the Ching remolds, under his Stokely Discs brand. And those are the discs that have thumb imprints along the plate. But yeah, I just want to shout out to Scott, which, mind you, he is or has been recently, will be getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. So shout out to Scott Stokely. Yeah. And then I wanted to definitely discuss this. This is great to hear finally. It's good to hear. DGPT announces a period of equipment testing to refine their basket evaluation process. And this is moving. They recently started, I think it's this weekend or last weekend. It's not at the USDGC, but they're starting that process of accepting discs from or baskets from manufacturers to approve for the tour for 2025 and moving forward.
Finally.
I think that they did note that tour cardholders and manufacturers will be involved in the actual testing process, which is good because those are the people that play on it most. I think that will this end up in, well, actually, I'll just ask you, do you think this is something that will end up having the DGPT create their own after all these technical reviews of baskets to kind of dial it into a single basket for them in the future? Or do you think that this is something that they're going to be doing to where they actually allow more than one type of basket or one manufacturer basket, depending on the event? What do you see this is going to, how do you see this is going to affect it moving forward?
So I think, well, there's one way that I think it will happen and one way that I would like for it to happen. The way that I think it'll happen is, and business-wise, this makes sense, and maybe it ultimately is the best move, kind of thinking about, the monetary part of it and running your business and keeping that running, is you're going to bring in these other manufacturers, and you're going to have maybe in the end a bid off, right, to see who's going to provide those baskets. Or maybe you have a certain portion that you split up throughout your life of your tournament, right, or your season, right? That's probably the way that it'll go, right? Because money talks, and you're running a business, like I said, and that makes sense. However, what I would like to see is them coming out with their own baskets, with their own set of standards, and going forward with that so we can maintain consistency. Now, at the end of the day, if they're involving the manufacturers and they're approving them and setting a standard, okay, I am on board with that, because at least there's something done in terms of standardization, right? What does that process look like? And what does that include? I don't know. I'd be very interested to see what that includes. However, as long as we have a standard, I guess I'm okay with it, but I'd love to see one, but I don't think we'll get it.
Yeah, I think, like you stated there, basically, this is a great opportunity that if you don't have your own basket as a DGPT tour for the tour itself, if DGPT does not come out with their own basket, then you put out the opportunity to bid on the manufacturer wanting their basket for the season,
right? Not
just for specific events. I would like to see one basket for the season. Right. I think initially it will be, okay, we will accept these baskets for upcoming seasons until we get to a point where maybe it either goes to that bidding route or, like you said, DGPT ends up creating their own basket. Because here's the thing. If they create their own basket, people, it's not going to take away money from the manufacturers of the baskets that are already being produced.
No.
The courses that are out there will still purchase those baskets depending on their funding that they have from their city or the private course, whatever it is. They're still going to choose whatever baskets they like most. They're going to put those in. All it will affect is the tour. When the tour comes through, you swap those out for the tour basket.
Yep.
And I think that's definitely where it needs to go. I would love to see that moving forward. And even like you said, worst case, if there are 3 manufacturers, well, here are the schematics that we want for this basket. Mm-hmm. And then that manufacturer makes it, and they basically get the rights for that season or that 2-3 seasons, depending on the deal that's worked out moving forward. I think that's where it needs to go, is one of those 2 ways. So it's good to see that they're actually addressing it. So good on you, DGPT.
Absolutely.
Did want to shout out to, we got a inquiry or request from Abierto Las Americas 2024, coming up December 12th to 14th in Girardota, Colombia. Or Girardota, I'm slaughtering that, so bear with me. There are a few links that we'll have in the comments or in the description below. That will be the website to learn about the event. There will be a registration there if you want to compete in that event. It is in Colombia. Mm-hmm. And there will be a YouTube video that was provided to us of the video that the Paul Macbeth Foundation posted, because this course is the 1.3 course from the Paul Macbeth Foundation. So it was, I believe, the first year, but the third course that the foundation put in. And this, again, it's in Colombia. So if you are curious as to what it looks like, if you're curious as to, you want to support it in some way, you want to sponsor a hole or anything. So sponsorship, if you're in Colombia, it's 500,000 pesos. If you're outside and you're in the US, that's $120 to sponsor a hole. And you can contact Ken Laukinen, Loukinen, through Discord Golf Scene. He is the one that's managing this event. Basically, he's the one to contact if you want to get involved in some way. So check that out and show your support.
Right. Beautiful course. Highly recommend. Check out the video. Beautiful course.
Moving forward, we have another product.
Yeah, I guess it kind of goes along the lines of TechDisc. That's where it comes from. So TechDisc put out in their app that you can get now the ability to sync up with the TechDisc and capture video from when you're throwing. So now not only do you have the flight data, but it would capture the video and do kind of an auto slow-mo for you of the release point, or at least leading up to it and release point through your drive there. It's going to start off, and we'll see here, but it's going to start off with the $9.99 a month or $100 a year, $99.99, right? You get a 7-day free trial if you already have your TechDisc. So maybe if that's something that you're, think you would want, right? You're that aspiring pro and you're working on your game. Maybe that's something that you look into. Me personally, man, that's expensive, right? Especially, I think it really only fits for that aspiring pro, right? Or somebody that really, really, really wants to improve their game and doesn't really have a lot of resources outside of the TechDisc and watching the video. And they don't really have the technical aptitude to just do the video and cut it and slow-mo it themselves, right? I think that's really the fit for this. That's kind of expensive because the TechDisc itself, super expensive. And I got a pretty good deal on the one that I have, and it is way more expensive now. So it's kind of one of those things that, it's an investment, and you can think of it that way, but it's not the investment I think that most casual players will gravitate to, right? And they're probably going to do the business model of, we started off at $9 a month, but it's going to do the Netflix thing and, going to 15, right? I can see that happening because that's business, right? That's what happens. Maybe we'll see, deals in the future where you buy a tech disc, you get half off of your year, something like that. Maybe we'll see some sales and stuff like that as it takes off and they kind of expand that program. Because as of right now, just having the feature where I can do the slow-mo in the video, I can do that myself. I don't really need it. So if they're going to continue to upgrade that thing and offer more things that make sense with the tech disc, then maybe it would be worth it in the future. For me right now, not really. But if that's something that, you could use, try it, at least try it out, right? You have a 7-day free trial, try it, see if it's for you. And maybe it's way better than I'm expecting. And you can let us know and shoot us an email at theshow@discgolfshow.com.
Yeah, I think the best route to go with this is if you do want to actually pay for it.
Yeah.
Do it every other month.
Sure. Yeah. You do the monthly.
Do videos quarterly to see how your improvement is going.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that this would be much more reasonable if it was $5 a month or $50 a year.
Right.
I think, but obviously cheaper is always going to be better.
Yeah.
But again,
like
business, you said,
they have to run, right?
They have to run. But I think this ultimately comes down to, like you said, it's an investment. And if you're at that point in your disc golf journey where you think this is going to be my profession and you're committing and you want every little bit of benefit or increase in your abilities and you think this is going to help do it, sure, I get that.
Absolutely.
It's not for those of us who play casually the majority of the time and play in a handful of events a year. This is for somebody who definitely it's going to be incrementally improving, and that will affect you monetarily moving forward.
Right.
So
absolutely,
it is neat. But the thing is, like you said, my cell phone does slow-mo.
Yeah.
Now, how they're going to integrate the data with the video, that's what I'm probably more curious about than you.
Yeah, the data integration itself, because it's supposed to link. As soon as it detects your throwing is when it starts to capture the video, and it does the slow-mo for you. So there's a little bit of convenience you're paying for there, too.
Will it have those data point lines on maybe your elbow to your arm and the twist and how you're moving?
Oh, that would be cool.
Maybe.
I don't think so right now.
Yeah, but if in the future, then I can see it being way more advantageous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, before we get to the event of the 2024 MVP Open that recently passed, which we have a little bit to talk about, please do us a favor. It helps us tremendously, more than you know. Just tap, hit, smash that subscribe button. I don't know I don't know what kids call it these days. Press.
Just
click.
Click on the subscribe button is what he's getting at. Yeah. Because we're almost to our goal.
We're almost to our goal so that we can do more to give back to you guys. We have stuff laying around that we'd like to.
Oh, we've been building it up.
Get rid of.
We're waiting.
Not only get rid of, but it's new product and stuff like that. Yeah. So we would love to have some of you benefit from it as well.
Doesn't like free stuff. I like free stuff.
Exactly, right? And all you got to do is click a button to possibly win some free stuff. Yeah. Do that.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. All right, guys. So recently, September 26th to 29th, the 2024 MVP Open presented by OTB in Leicester, I think is what they say, Massachusetts. One of the things I did take away from this is I liked how they had different pin placements. And I know Roger was talking about this of different courses, and I know you like that.
Yep.
But the variety of being able to have and move that basket from day to day to make there be a little bit of a difference. That way the person doesn't just automatically know what the corrections they have to make. They have to make even an additional change in what they were thinking about throwing. I think that's going to be something that is implemented in many more events moving forward. I think another thing that should not happen is advertisement walls should not be in playable areas on any of the holes. So hole 16, there was a small ground wall, basically, of signs, of advertisement signs that created a small wall. Ridiculous.
Absolutely.
That should not be anywhere near.
I'll join you on that old mannerism. Like the sign should not be in the field of play. You can have many as you want outside the field of play, right, in the out of bounds area, that's fine. But, or even like if it's on the out of bounds wall, right, like you have like a poster or something, that's fine. Not in the field of play though. That's no, I don't like that.
I don't like that. But as for FPO, we had mainly kind of a battle between two people, and it kind of went back and forth basically between pretty much Missy and Kristen.
Yep, for the most part there. Yep.
And it was one thing I can say. I hate to say this because I love you so much. Tatar's game was just slightly
a little off.
Yeah. Just enough, I think, to have her question stuff. And not even majorly question. Just a little doubt can affect your game. And so I think that's kind of the takeaway I got from her game this event. She played great anyway in comparison. But it came down to...
almost won. I mean, second place ain't nothing to shake a stick at, right?
However, this is like her fourth or fifth second place. It's like that one event that she hasn't been able to conquer, which is good, though, in the long run, because she's won almost every event out there. And I feel that having that one event that eludes you a little bit keeps your mind into the game and keeps you pressing forward to improve. Because you don't want to get complacent when you're out there.
No. And I'm super interested to see what she's going to bring into next year, right? This year was kind of I didn't get to watch her last year except for, I've gone back and watched a little bit of highlights, but I think this will motivate her further. And I think we're going to see her game change next year, right? She didn't win as many events as she did last year, not even hardly as many as what it seems like. So I know there's a little bit of injury there too that was involved, but I think this is going to be for her, because you could tell she's competitive, right? Obviously, this is going to play an effect, I think, on her off season, and I'm super excited to see what it brings into next season. I think next season is going to be fiercely competitive, and I am interested to see what's going to happen, especially with Tatar here. So
well, you had Pierce playing really well this event too.
Really well. She was in second place up to one point, right?
Yeah,
doing really well. And the ace on, what was it? 14? No, it wasn't 14. What
15. Round 2. Yeah.
Yep. She did incredibly well. So, which I like to see because she's on my roster.
Well, not anymore. We'll get to that.
Well, we'll get to that. Yeah.
But yeah, so it was. I think that Kristen will come back strong next. Now, one other viewpoint was brought up by Valerie Doss, that she's in a very good place in life in general, and that can make you too comfortable because you don't have that fight. Right. You're just happy, and that makes you kind of soften a little, maybe.
Sure.
And she said because of her recent marriage, and her brand deals that she's been making posts throughout the year, which is awesome. I think that can come into play. How much? Again, for these people at this level, just the littlest things can have a noticeable effect in your game. So it will be interesting. Now, what's going to happen coming up in this weekend? We'll announce those events, and hopefully she does well moving forward. Now, so your FPO winner, Missy Gannon, she had some massive putts that really cinched it for her. Like I'd say that's probably the best of her game is her putting. Her putting is crazy. She's getting more and more distance too, which I've noticed. So she's not as limited on distance. But her putting definitely is what cinched that up for her. Isaac Robinson did not play in this event.
Nope.
He made a post stating that he wanted to be in better shape because he had a finger injury that had a cut, that he just didn't want it to get worse because he knew USDGC and the DGPT Championship were coming up. So he stepped back.
Smart.
And you had Macbeth, who was doing really well this event too.
Yes, and I love to see that. I think both of these kind of, FPO, MPO were exciting down to the last hole where, winners were being decided on the last hole. Right. And it was interesting and it was dynamic, especially on MPO here. Right. Where going into the final 9, you had Wysocki in the lead. Right. Yep. And you only had a 1 point difference between him in the lead and Babcock, Proctor, and Gossage. Right. Super tight going into the final 9. And then all of a sudden, Macbeth turns it on. Right. And I was sure he was taking it to the end. And at the very last hole, a super crazy putt, 50-footer at least, sinks it to send him down to 29 under, and Proctor takes it. Yep. Which is, and I didn't realize this is his very first win in the USA for the Pro Tour. He's won overseas, I guess, but this is his first one here, it blew my mind. Like, wait, I guess it is. Like, I would have sworn he'd won a Pro Tour event here in the state because, he's been winning some stuff. So been around for a minute, but super cool, super kind of dynamic the entire time, going back and forth on who's going to win. And Macbeth has got this, I was like, finally, here we go. Right. It's his big win. Right. And,
he needs it.
Yeah.
He needs it. Because he's got a record of the last 12 years, I think, of having either a Elite Series or a major win. So he only has
a couple more, right?
This week.
I
don't know if I don't know if they're going to consider the championship because it's not technically a major.
True.
And it's not an Elite Series, it's the championship.
Yeah, so I guess one more.
I think everybody would consider it that.
Yeah.
I think everybody would consider it. But he's had a win for the past 12 years and right now he has goose egg.
Pressure's on.
So hopefully, I think that we've discussed this too. I think the thing with him is that this event, he had good rounds and a great round.
Right.
So he had one great round and then 3 good rounds. I think he needs to at least have 2 or 3 great rounds nowadays. With the competition that's out there, he hasn't been able to put it all together in one event yet. And he's made posts stating that. He says he feels his game coming together. He feels things starting to click, but he needs to make that extra step. So hopefully we'll see him keep that streak going maybe. We will see. And just want to do a shout out to, we already shout out Paige on her ace, Mason Marchbanks, round 2 on hole 2. He had an ace, so shout out. As well as I think the best one was Matty O. Hole 14, all water carry over to that left side, drains it in the first round. And he almost drains it in the next round.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, he had some great drives on that hole, but he ended up being second place on SportsCenter top 10, which is awesome. So couldn't wish that on a better competitor. So shout out to Matteo.
Absolutely.
As for the upcoming events, we kind of just touched on those. We've got October 10th through 13th, which starts this Thursday. We have the 2024 USDGC as well as the 2024 TPW DGC, which is the Throw Pink, at Rock Hill, South Carolina. And that's the major. So one thing to note, Nate Doss has signed up for another event this year.
Oh, there we go.
Stoked to see that because he played pretty well in that other event that he played this year. So good to see him coming back and being more involved. Though we do see him on coverage with the commentary, but it's good to see him out on the field. And then October 17th to 20th, we just talked about 2024 DGPT Championship presented by none other than Barbasol. So they're back in supporting disc golf in Charlotte, North Carolina. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for those events. Let us know which one you like more. Who do you think is going to win it? Let us know down below. Now we get to the questions. You know me, I like to give you some questions here at the end of the show.
All right.
Some of these are some of these are just, hey, let's talk. Who cares? Question 1. Do you think more thought needs to go into the tour schedule to help mitigate weather issues? Because this year we've had some events where a round gets cut due to weather, and it seemed to happen, to be honest with you, it's happened more and more over the past few years, but it's continual. So I think that maybe that's some aspect of where they need to look at to be able to finish these events with full rounds? What do you think?
I think weather's unpredictable, right? Unless you're shifting to completely different months where weather is extremely unlikely. And even then, you might still have weather, right? Weather is what it is. I think, disc golfers are a little bit more able to play in inclement weather, if you will. But to a certain extent, when safety comes involved, lightning and stuff, you just got to stop play. It is what it is. But in terms of it being able to shift it around significantly to avoid the weather, I don't really think there's much they can do. It just kind of is what it is, man. If you have to play during this time of year, that it's going to be subject to crappy weather. And if it happens, it happens, unfortunately, right? I don't think there's much you can do outside of shifting to completely different months. So,
and then you're fighting for who gets those months.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's tough. But like you said, disc golfers are able to play in a lot of different weather, and they're not against it. So maybe a non-issue. Question 2. Do you have a preferred structure? We touched on this while Roger was here. Do you have a preferred structure for a tournament? Do you like the 2 rounds in one day? 1 round a day? Does it matter? Do you like shotgun starts versus tee times? Depending on something? What?
Right. I mean, there's a difference for me for watching it versus playing it. If I'm playing, I don't have a lot of time, so I prefer rounds into one day, one course, get it done, over with. Shotgun start, get it done, right? Watching it, I want that to be extended out as much as possible. I want to see different courses. I want the variety. I love the dynamic of having maybe and we've seen that this year at least, the really technical course and the wide open course. So we're testing the arm and then the technical. I like the mixture of it all and the variety. It just brings more entertainment value for me personally. And I know I understand the argument of, then there's less time for the people to prepare. You're a pro. Get over it, right? You got to work that into kind of consideration in terms of your warm-up and your routine and how you're going to get out to those courses and prepare. But I think that's a consideration for them, and you're a professional. You need to overcome it. That's my counter to that argument. That's what that means at that level. But watching it, I'd love to see the continuation of extended and different days and different rounds and different courses. So
I think that's a big thing that you commented on there, is the fact that pros for these events, as much as I personally would love to see a single course for events, I think that is something that definitely distinguishes our sport from other sports, because there's no other sport that I know of that uses 2 field of plays in one event or in one event, right? And again, you touched on the fact that if you're a pro and you feel that, I need more time to practice these fields or these events, these courses, most of the pros that are playing have played these events already, these courses. So there's small tweaks that need to be made. I don't think that you need a ton of practice prior to that, because you've already been through this. This will have more of an effect on those upcomers, the new pros that are coming into the tour, that are coming to these events, where yes, this is their first time playing that event and it has 2 courses. It's a learning curve. It's part of the game when you're becoming a pro. So I'm not against it, and I'm warming up more and more to it, because I do like that variety as well. The variety is great because then you can see who's better in what type of situation, what type of course, whether it's tight wooded, whether it's open, whether there's more water involved, all that stuff. So good notes there. Question 3, should age restricted divisions have their own tournaments so that there's more space for AM1 and AM2 spots? And this is probably more of a down the road thing, because currently we're not seeing the events that pop up be filled, like the A tier, B tier, C tier. You're not seeing those fill up in 5 minutes anymore. You're able to wait a little bit to see if you want to play in that event, and I think that would have an effect on probably your answer to this. But I'm looking at definitely down the road, when there's more people vying at possibly using this as their profession, where you're opening up those A tier events, that step event, to becoming pro, where you have more open spots for those players that are trying to make a profession out of this. Do you think that that's something that we'll see down the road?
Yeah, probably. Not really needed right now, I think. But once we get to that point, yeah, absolutely. I think we'll eventually see that. I'm going to skip the rest of our questions because I have to take off here in about 6 minutes. So
okay.
We're going to rush the end of this one just to kind of try to get it out. Skip Ace, the Fantasy Disc Golf League, thank you for joining that. If you joined us this year, our big winner, Ken, surprise, surprise, maybe not. He's been whooping us pretty much all year.
Killing us.
Your whole year for the Disc Golf Network for next year as the grand prize will be covered by us. So we'll get in contact with you there, Ken. Don't worry about not being able to watch all of them next year because you're going to have the access because that's the prize for this year. Thank you so much for joining the Disc Golf Fantasy League with us. And Ben, we're not going to leave you out there too because Nick and I, we don't count. And that means you're the runner-up, which means you win second prize. We're going to send you some stuff too. So look out for a message from us. Thank you very much for whooping up on us and participating this year in the Fantasy League. I think we're going to continue this into next year because it was fun.
It was fun.
I enjoyed it. So I think we're going to continue to do this. We're going to open up more slots for this next year too, now that we kind of have an idea of how this is going to run, and we'll probably have more prizes there. And don't worry, Roger, we got you too. We're going to, you're going to get a prize as well. Because after all, you took third place. Third place.
Yeah, you did.
Technically, you took third place. So,
count.
Third place gets a prize. So there you go. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. And if you want to play the fantasy stuff, look at the social media coming up here for the next season when that starts, and we'll be putting that out there. And you can get in on some of the fun as well. It was definitely a lot of fun this year. Didn't know how it was going to go, but I think it turned out pretty fun. And it was a lot of fun, and we're definitely going to do it here next year. That brings us pretty much to the end of the show here. And real quick, as you know, we kind of cover every show. If you're looking for some bags and some swag, if you will, for disc golf, check out Upper Park Disc Golf and use the code Disc Golf Show, all one word, to save yourself 15%. And if you're looking at buying one of those bags, you might want to get that order in here soon because the pre-order prices are going to go up soon. They just sent us all out a communication saying, hey, we're raising the prices. So tell everybody, get in and get your orders in now because it's going to go up here real quick. So use that code, save yourself 15%, and save yourself even more money by not hesitating and getting it now. This episode was brought to you in part by Final Nine Sports with their 2 locations, one in Rocklin, one in Orangevale. Support local if you can't support them because you should, and that's what you should do. If you want to email us, do that at theshow@discgolfshow.com. That does it for me, for Nick. We'll talk to you guys next time. And remember, in disc golf, as in life, aim high and let it fly.